Good afternoon, ladies and gents. It's the 2nd of August, 2024, and this is going to be a short session, really following on from the water preparation overview, part one video session that I done just before this one, whereby I said that there were a couple of methods I wanted to go through so that I could sort of just let you guys know either whether they work and whether they're effective or not. The first method was around the transportation of water from A to B, whereby I was at a reservoir just a few miles away from here, probably over a week ago now, blowing up the drone up into the air and getting a better view of the area. We also took a couple of bottles of water from the reservoir back home just to run through a couple of purification and filtration methods. What I didn't get round to doing though was the transportation of larger amounts of water from source to base. And the method I mentioned was transporting water in plastic bin liners, which were then sort of placed into pillowcases. Those pillowcases would then be sort of tied off at the top and then carried over your shoulder. So I just want to sort of get them done really. Guys, I'm just going to throw up some slides just to show you kind of what I've sort of experienced, what I've done, but also to prevent you from falling asleep. The other method I wanted to sort of try was water distillation, sort of using two bottles glued together, forming a kind of like a funnel type container. Basically, what I'd done, I obtained a couple of bottles, I cleaned them out, and then I sort of drilled quite large holes into both of the bottle lids. Then from there, I've sort of simply glued the bottle lids together. So when the lid's on the bottles, then the bottle, it kind of joins the two bottles together, if that makes sense. You'll see in a minute from an image. So basically what we're doing here is we're separating or extracting good water from bad. So for example, if you've got dirty water and you want to sort of extract the good water, or let's say, for example, you've got some salty water and you just want to pull the good drinkable water away from the salty water, then water distillation does the job. And there are a few different sort of methods to do that. But today, I'm only going to show you one, which is easy and cheap to make and set up. So firstly, we've put salty water into a bottle, only halfway sort of filled. Then we screw the second bottle on the top of the first. And what we do then is we rest the two bottles at a kind of an angle, as you can see in the picture, outside somewhere in the sun. The concept here is that the heat from the sun will sort of beat down on the water in the bottle, and the distillation sort of process should start. As you know, as the sun sort of beats down on it, it's going to be warming up the water, which in turn then kind of creates a vapor inside the second bottle. So the bottle there that's higher up, the vaporized water then kind of rests on the inside of the second bottle, a little bit like you know, sort of condensation on your windows. It's that kind of effect. And after some time, obviously gravity will pull that water off the inside of the bottle into, you know, some kind of pool area in that bottle. But guys, this is not going to be a quick process. However, I suppose if you have no access to sort of clean water or drinking water, then no matter how long this process takes, and if you're thirsty, you're going to go with it. As you can see, this method of water distillation for me failed. Didn't work at all. And after the bottles had even been outside exposed in the sun for hours, we're talking, you know, nearly a day or, you know, even longer than that. Nothing happened. There was, you know, it just didn't work for me. So I'm just not sure if I was doing anything wrong really with this method. So with that, I checked online just to see if this was the correct method, and that I'd done sort of the setup correctly. And I found a slightly different way of sort of doing this by inserting a sort of, it's like a short piece of pipe into the, let's call it the top bottle. Let's just bring that up. Yeah, and so with this method, you can actually stand these bottles upright. So instead of sort of resting them at an angle, you can actually stand them upright, because the inserted white pipe that you can see in the picture would sort of prevent the condensated water from flowing back down into the salty water in the bottle below. I tried both, and although I could see a very small condensation particles on the inside of the top bottle, the results were rubbish. So this was a massive fail for me on this one. I did say though, guys, that I would take you on this journey with me, showing you my challenges, successes, and also those failures. So this is my first failure. However, I'm not going to give up, and I will sort of further investigate this method and just find out why it's failed or why I failed it, whatever, whichever way you want to sort of read it. And then I will try again, and I will make a video and let you know when it's when it's been successfully done. However, I did have some better luck with the transporting of the water in those sort of two pillowcases. I hiked down to a point on the canal, just a few miles away again from here. It's more like a canal sort of boat mooring pool or a marina, if that's what you want to call it. But honestly, when I got there, I was actually surprised on how clear this water was. You know, and it probably had over 100 boats moored up there. I could see the bottom. I could see the bottom of of the marina, shall we say, as well as all the plants that were growing. I could also see some small fish sort of swimming around. The reason why I say I'm sort of surprised is because, back in the day when I've been anywhere near a canal, the water was never clear. You might have all sorts of rubbish thrown in there, whether it's bikes, trolleys, roadside cones or whatever. But my experience with canals back in the past have not been of a clear water and clean water nature. So I was kind of quite sort of taken back by that. There were two things I needed to achieve here, following on from part one, as in the video part one of the water preps over the overview. It was the transporting of the water in these bin liners, stroke pillowcases, and also the purifying of water using household bleach. In part one, we concentrated on water collected from the reservoir initially, which, to be fair, was quite clear. I also wanted to see and test sort of water from different natural sources, such as a river and a canal, just to see, one, how clear that water was compared to each other, really. And also to try one of the other sort of purification methods that I had missed in the first video, that being the household bleach. I filled the two bin liners with the canal water. And then I sort of put those bin liners inside the pillowcases. I tied them off at the top. I threw them over my shoulders, and that was it. Unfortunately, whilst I was on my way to the river, because what I'd done is I went to the canal first, and then my plan was to go to the river, get some more water, and then off we go. But unfortunately, whilst on the way to the river, I could feel water dripping down the sort of back of my leg from one of the bags over my shoulders. So I had to sort of lose one of the bags, to be honest with you, and the water, which meant I didn't have a second bag for the river water. Therefore, I just kind of went straight home. So I didn't make it to the river during that sort of session. But what I'm trying to say here is I would recommend that you don't use, these kind of household white type sort of bin liners for this exercise. These ones are actually quite thin, so I would suggest that you stick with something like those traditional black bin liners, which come in all sorts of shapes and sizes and also different thicknesses. When I got back, I measured how much water I'd collected in the one bag, and it was just under 15 litres. And this honestly wasn't heavy at all to carry. I put a couple of drops of bleach into a litre of water, left it for nearly an hour, and then drank some. No problem at all, guys. I couldn't even taste the bleach. With the water collected from the river, because I went to the river the day after, as you can see from this picture, well, the river itself actually, but as you can see there, it's a little bit murky actually, which I wasn't expecting. As the water that we sort of collected from the reservoir the week before was, it just seemed cleaner or clearer, shall we say, than that of the river. I don't know why. I think I was just expecting sort of clearer water from the river, especially a flowing river. Nevertheless, I used a life straw to filter the river water, and as you can see, the filtered water compared to the unfiltered is a lot clearer. I was going to say cleaner, but the filtering is clearing, is a clearing process. Cleaner on appearance, but that doesn't necessarily make it safe. So what I'm trying to say here is that you can filter water. 9 times out of 10, it should be fairly good to sort of drink, but just keep in the back of your mind that you may have to purify it as well. I put a quarter of a purification tablet into the glass because although the water did look a lot clearer, like I said, I just couldn't actually be sure. And the reason why I couldn't be sure is because it was taken from a river, and I wasn't sure whether there were animals further up the river, or there was a dead animal in the river, or anything like that. And the reason why I didn't know that is because much of that river was covered by trees. So when I flew the drone up in the air, I could only see bits of it. So yeah, a purification tab done the job. So just quickly, I just want to go through the taste tests at the end of those exercises. The water from the river first. It was filtered using the life straw. Excuse me, and purified with a quarter purification tablet, as I've just said. And guys, it was perfect to drink, no problem at all. The water transported in the bin liner stroke pillowcases was a lot clearer than I thought it would be. So again, that was from the canal. So when sourced from the canal boat, sort of mooring pool, that's what they're called. I just purified, I mean, I think there was 15 litres in that bag. So I only purified 1 litre with 2 drops, and this is pipettes. This is like a little pipette, 2 drops of household bleach. Again, perfect to drink, and I couldn't even taste the bleach, so no problems there either. We were aiming for getting distilled water included in this, but as mentioned, using those 2 bottles or that 2 bottle method, for me, this method did not work at all. With that, I'm not going to give up though. Like I said, I'm going to further investigate, retest, and then come back with hopefully a more successful, a result. As we finish off, or start to finish off here, one last method to mention here for water. The weather here in the UK has, got a bit warmer over the last couple of weeks. We are in the summer. It's been a late summer, to be honest with you. But last night was not last night, the night before. It was forecasted rain and thunderstorms. There was a bit of rain, but with that, I kind of wanted to sort of capture some water using plastic shopping bags, used as a kind of funnel, really just as a rain catcher. So how did that go? I've got a couple of plastic bags, shopping bags. These are, I think they're from Iceland or whatever. Cut down one side and sort of opened them up, as you can sort of see here, or you can see in that the right-hand side image there. And I taped the 2 bags together, and we were sort of good to go really from that point onwards. So I managed to find a secluded location out in the, not the field as such. It was kind of a little bit, there was tree cover. And it had to be secluded as I didn't really want anyone to see it, or for, some kids to sort of pull it down. Now they're all on their summer holidays or school holidays. So, I just wanted to make sure that it was kind of out of sight, really. I found 4 sticks, and I cut them down roughly to the same length. I sharpened one end, and then I sort of pushed them into the ground into like a sort of square formation. I then took the 4 corners of the plastic. That's the 2 plastic open bags that I'd kind of done before, and I attached each of those corners to each stick. Finally, I cut a hole in the center of the bag and placed a bottle underneath. So the aim here really is, as it rained, the rain would hit the plastic bags and then just funnel down to this hole in the middle and straight into the bottle. This actually, to be honest with you, was harder than I thought it would be. Firstly, finding the secluded spot amongst a bunch of sort of stinging nettles was the start. Then making sure that no one sort of saw me setting this thing up. So you're kind of always looking over your shoulder, a little bit sneaky beaky style. And then attaching the 4 corners to the sort of embedded sticks came next. But the biggest challenge was it was making sure that the bottle underneath the bag was positioned right and making sure that the rain would go into the neck of the bottle. So the top of the bottle, to be honest, was too small. Once I started pushing, the bag into the top of that bottle, it actually ended up blocking the bottleneck up. So what I had to do, take the bottle away, not away, but I sort of took it from underneath the bags, and I cut it down sort of by 2 inches. So 2 inches from the top, cut it, and then it just kind of created a bigger or larger opening, and I could fit the plastic bag with the hole into the top of that bottle. The actual process was a pain in the ass. I was expecting this to go straight forward, nice and simple and stuff like that. But again, that's why we're doing this, guys. I'm doing this to tell you what I experienced, and it was a pain in the ass. But I can't, I can't sort of emphasize anymore that with these methods and these tasks and processes and stuff like that, get out there and do it. Because if you have to go and do it for the first time during an SHTF, you're going to be fucked. Honestly, it's not, some of this stuff is not as easy as it looks. But anyway, I went to the location this morning, had a look, and yeah, it rained last night, a little bit more than the night before, and again, we had some water. As you can see in that right hand picture there, that's how much water is collected. Now, I'll tell you what I was more surprised about is the color of that water. It's murky. It's as murky as the water that came out of the river, to be honest with you. However, because of where I'd sort of positioned this setup, it was actually under trees. So you can see there that the rain would have hit those leaves, and then bringing down with it, bits and pieces off of the leaves and the branches, insects and all sorts of stuff. So the location of this setup was wrong. Again, that's why I'm doing this. This is a learning curve. But the only reason why it was done in this location is because I was thinking more of keeping it stealthily hidden so nobody would sort of kick it down as such. Right. Obviously, I bought the water home this morning, and I decided to use the life straw to filter it out. So as you can see there, it's that murky water. But then once I started using the life straw, we got a really good, clear, filtered, glass of water out of that. I just wanted to, just one note to also ironically mention here, over the last 10 days, whilst I've been kind of messing about with these methods and stuff like that, we actually lost water at home, not once, but twice in the space of a week. There was a burst water pipe a couple of 100 meters away, which took them a day to sort of fix. And then only yesterday, I got up, turned on the tap to fill the kettle for a cuppa, and no water. Luckily, though, yesterday, it only took them 3 hours to fix. But it just made me think about these sort of two videos, the content within them, and sort of also the message I'm trying to get out there. In the part one water preparation overview, I talk about the loss of the water utility, and it just seemed ironic that I was, testing these methods, talking about them on these sessions, and then all of a sudden we've got no water anyway. It's not until it's gone that you actually realize, what sort of situation you could find yourselves in. So, guys, like I say, I've said it before. The importance of water is at the very top of your list of priorities. Okay, has to be. Moving on to the transportation of the larger amounts of water, like this method. If you don't have any sort of solid containers as such, then hopefully everyone would or should have a couple of bin liners and a couple of pillowcases in their home of some sort, to actually use this method. I would suggest that you keep a couple of strong bin liners packed away, sort of in your preps, just for this purpose only. If you know, that you have a water source sort of near you to extract this water from, then that's ideal. And again, like I mentioned in the first video, part one, that you need to get out there and identify these water sources and make sure that it's going to be usable water, and it's not going to be a complete nightmare. Now, filling up those sort of bin liners with water at that canal pool was easy. If you're doing it at a river, just make sure that you find a safe place on the bank and just try to source that water from the flowing part of the river as opposed to the river pool. Do not fill the bin liners, up to the top or overfill. Remember, you'll be sort of putting those bin liners into pillowcases. And with the best will in the world, those pillowcases aren't that big, to be honest with you. It's it's the tying off process or the procedure you'll need to sort of get right. Okay, you don't. I mean, you can try and tie a knot, but tying a knot actually takes up a lot of material. But the process that I want to sort of show you, let's just get off of there, is this process. Now, this process is in the Nuclear War Survival Skills 2022 edition survival book, and it's good. I like it. It's exactly what I used. Now, I'm just going to explain it here quickly, and then that's it. We're finished. Okay, so firstly, basically what you're doing is you're closing off the top of the bag until the two sort of inner sides are, of the opening are together. Okay. Then you sort of fold in the center so that the folded sort of open is 4 thickness and nice and smooth, as shown in the sort of diagram there. And then sort of continue folding up until the center and smoothing it out. Okay, so make sure they're decent folds until the whole sort of folded up opening is sort of only about 1 inch or 2 wide. Then you fold the top of the bag over on itself, so the folded up opening points are down. With the strip of the cloth or a soft cord, bind and tie the folded sort of over part with a bow knot, as illustrated. I used paracord for mine. So, paracord, I've got a shed load of paracord. I keep it on me most of the time, and it becomes, it becomes useful, certainly in these sort of situations. You can join the two sort of bags together using the methods shown. So what you'll see in the top right-hand corner, just in front of the face of that guy, you'll see the method that I'm talking about here. You'll have to sort of place a pebble inside the folds of each bag before tying them off, and then creating, basically what you're doing here is you put like a little pebble or boulder or something like that in there, and then you fold it over, tie it off with a paracord, and then what you're doing there is you're creating a kind of sort of anchor, really. Like I say, you tie off the two bags together using the pebble sort of bow knotted end as an anchor point. I know that sounds a lot more difficult than it actually is, but I would try this method a couple of times first at home without any water in the bags and the pillowcases, just to make sure that you get it right and you understand what it is you're doing. The last thing you want to be doing is walking back to your house, or wherever your bug out location or wherever it is, with 80 pounds of water, or sort of 60, 70, 80 liters of water over your shoulders, and the bags just come apart, throwing all your water all over the place. Finally, this is it. What did I like most about testing these methods? The life straw for me is the nuts. I love it. If I had the money, I would purchase something like this, the mother of all life straws. Now, this bad boy includes ultra filtration membrane with a lifetime of how many gallons? 26,000 gallons. Okay, that will filter. That is approximately 124,000 liters of water, which would be enough for 75 people for up to 3 to 5 years. Now, that's what I'm talking about, guys. If you've got one of those, they're around about I've got that off an American site. It's in dollars. It's around about $500. But that, if you've got that, what a lifesaver! That's my ultimate lifesaver. When I've got the money, I'm going to get one of those, and that's it. So that's it with the water overview part 2. Hope some of it's been sort of informative for you all. But guys, honestly, whilst the weather is good at the moment, get out there and give some of these methods a try, because water is king, and without it, you'll be dead within 5 to 7 days. And that's it, guys. I said I wanted to sort of give these methods a go, and now I have. I've shared the experience with you. That's enough for me. I'm off.